he was itching like crazy, and he was running. The troop was moving very fast through the forest, and he was trying to get the ants out of his pants. He kept on pulling them down and trying to get the ants out. And there was a German sniper that saw him and thought it was hilarious. So every time he pulled down his pants to try and get the ants off him, the guy would shoot near him into the dirt and spray up dirt in his face, and he would have to keep running. So that was one funny story.
One night we flew out the bridge across the Danube. We got across, and it was a dark, dark night in early April. Now I guess it was mid-April, and all of a sudden the company commander says, we called him the old man, he was 22. But he said, it's too quiet, there's something wrong. So he sent two guys out and said, find out, get back as soon as you can. So they came back in maybe 15 minutes. Both of them fell into a German V trench. And it was so dark that when they fell into it, they bounced against a German soldier who said, Dummkopf, and they just answered back, Dummkopf. They gave each other the signal. They were able to climb out of the trenches that were dug there, got back and said the Germans are waiting for us. They're lined up. They were lined up waiting for us. The tower was lined, and the old man, as I said, who was 22, said, I want to call back the artillery. I want 20 minutes of demolition, and they blew out the tower and the railroad station. And if that hadn't happened, we would have gone right into that trap that they had laid for us. So you say, thank God, and why we were so lucky.
The one other story, the most tragic story he ever told me, was about a week after the Victory in Europe Day, the day that Germany gave up and the war was over. In Europe, one of his sergeants, who had been through 4 tours of duty, which is almost the entire length of the war, was they were sitting in a field. The whole group of them were sitting in the field, and they had their helmets on, and but they thought the war was over, so they were relaxing. They thought that everything was good, and everyone had laid down their arms, and they were just waiting for the next orders. And there was a sniper in a barn across the field, and his sergeant, who had been through almost the entire war, was shot in the head and killed. And it really shook up all the guys in the platoon, because they just couldn't understand the injustice of it all. The war was over. It should have been safe, but they weren't.
The basic train, at the end of basic train, the thing that really made war seem real is when we had to climb under barbed wire, which was not very high, and the warning was, keep your head down, do not lift up your head no matter what, because there'd be live ammunition probably a foot over your head. And that was really the feeling of, boy, if this is what war is, this is hell.
Are there any other stories you can remember from the war?
Well, there was just the time that near the end of the war, he was only in actually active combat for like 8 weeks, because he got there in early 1945, and by April it was over. But at some point, some German soldiers that were separated from their unit just jumped out of the bushes one day and surrendered and said, don't shoot, we're hungry, or something like that. So they, my dad and a couple of the other guys he was with, took these guys prisoner, and my dad actually got the one German officer who surrendered. He got his officer's pistol and his binoculars, and so my dad got to keep those. And another point, he came across a German flag that he kept, and when he brought it home, my grandmother, who was German and very ashamed of what the Germans did, would not allow him to have the German flag in the house with the swastika on it. So she, one day when my dad wasn't around, she grabbed it and cut the flag up into pieces and threw the swastika in the fire and kept the red pieces to use for Christmas tree blankets and things like that. That's all I can really remember.
I mean,
Let me ask you both a pointed question. Do either one of you guys feel yourselves as heroes?
no. The heroes are the ones that died. They were the heroes. I mean,
You didn't think about
no,
You didn't think about that. You just, each day you got up and pray that you laughed another day, and you'd go, and some days it'd be tough, some days not so tough, but there were times when things happened that were, I think, like miraculous. One day we were pinned down by German 88s, which were big shells which they fired almost like a rifle. 2 of those shells landed within where we were pinned down. Neither one of them exploded, which would have wiped out probably half our company. 4 or 5 guys were taken to the hospital from shell shock, but those 2 bombs didn't explode. You can't explain those things. And I think of the time that we crossed, you talk about heroes. Heroes happen because sometimes circumstance and they react to it. And I'm not taking away from anyone who was claimed a hero, because they went through a lot more than I did. Some of them went through 2, 3, 4 years of combat.
Okay. What did it feel like coming home?
Well, for myself, before we came home, since I had not been in that much combat, I became part of the Army of Occupation. But before that, we started training to go train for the invasion of Japan. And that was tough because a lot of guys thought they would be getting a chance to go home, but we were told no, we were going into jungle training, go to Marseille and ship over to Australia, prepare for the invasion of Japan.
we were waiting
And
for you, Paul.
as John just said, thank God for the atomic bomb, because when people tried to second guess Harry Truman, he said, I made the decision, the buck stops here. I did what I thought was right because I thought there would be many more, not only American casualties, but Japanese casualties with the invasion of Japan. And we all felt he was right because the Japanese, as John said, were taught to surrender is a disgrace. So you fight till you're dead. And so the toll invading Japan, God knows how much that would have been. So the atomic bomb came and everything stopped, and then the second, and Japan surrendered, and then I went in the Army of Occupation. And that lasted a year, and then I came home and felt that, well, I hadn't been in combat much, but thank God that whatever way I was involved with, I got through and I was able to do my service to the country because we knew we were right.
That was an understatement. Because once you're in combat, I don't care how long you've been in, you're in combat.
2 days.
2 days is enough.
That's enough.
You're right. I didn't go to some of my reunions initially because I felt all the other guys had done so much compared to me, because I was only in combat 7 weeks. And the first time I went, Paul, why haven't you come? I said, because, I did so little. You guys did so much. And the guy said, don't you ever talk like that. He said, you could have been with us one day and shipped home. He said, don't ever feel that way. What you did what you were called on to do. And so then I started going to my reunions after that, which was good.
Yeah, okay, Jose.